TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down.
I'd like to welcome everybody back to another episode of the TWSN Tailgate Show. As always, I'm the host, Matt Levine. I'm joined by my co-host, Joshua Northcutt. And this week, we have another special guest who was here, two weeks ago, I think? 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, 3 weeks ago.
You were here. That's all we know. That's all we need to know at this point. We got Bill Sparks in here, the one that Josh and I reference every single week. He will not be in the chat section this time, unfortunately, but he will be here talking to us, which is even better. So how are you guys doing? I'll start with Bill. Bill, how are you doing this fine week of, we're going to talk some college football here.
I am excited for this week of college football. There are some very high games that I'm excited to see all weekend long. And we're at a point now where starting now, I think for the next 30 or so odd days, there is a college football game every single night of the week. And it is glorious. We've made it. I'm happy to be here. Josh, how are you feeling?
Fantastic. I believe it's actually like 42 straight days of football, period. Whether it's college, whether it's NFL.
I thought it was like 48 or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
This is the best time of the year because there's football every single night, no matter what you got. For other fanatics like me, there's hockey also. Like there's just baseball playoffs. This is the best time to be a sports fan. But most of all, we're hitting the halfway point this week in college football. Things are getting real. And I can't wait to talk about it because it's an absolute loaded slate that we picked 6 games to talk about, but there was an option of at least 12. Like, no kidding, 12 games to talk.
Yep. No, it's the truth. And we're going to dive right into this. You know, we got a big show going, but as we do every week, we want to talk about takeaways. Just quickly, 10 minutes at most, about this. I'll go to Bill. You're our guest. I'm going to have you start here. Any big takeaways, impressive performances, overreactions, anything you need to talk about from last week?
Yeah, so listen, I'm going to make a victory lap here because I said it 2 weeks ago when I was here and everybody called me insane for it. But Texas, Penn State, and Clemson are going to miss the CFP. And it's clear. You saw Penn State just get essentially waxed by UCLA. Clemson went out and played a North Carolina team that akin to empty calories. And then, you have Texas who beat up on Florida a little bit. My biggest concern with these 3 teams was coming in. They were supposed to be just juggernauts. You had Arch Manning, you had Drew Aller, you had Cade Klubnik. They were supposed to be these offensive juggernauts. Do you guys know that in terms of total offense, they all are outside the top 50 across the CFB?
Yeah, it's been a little surprising to say the least.
100%. So that's my big takeaway. Is I still say all 3 of those teams miss the college football playoff. And I'm also going to say this, and I'm going to make this campaign from now until the end of time. I really think Jerry Neuheisel needs to get the permanent job at UCLA. The way he led them against Penn State on 2.5 days of preparation. He even admitted in the post-game press conference that he forgot how to hit the button to call plays into Nico, and they still went out and won against Penn State. Listen, he's young. I get it. But he is a guy that if you want to change the culture of a college program, of a franchise like UCLA, you need fresh blood and someone that people can buy into. I bought into him. The way they just routed Penn State. I
thought Penn State was a fraud, according to you.
They were a fraud.
Does that factor in? I'm just trying to play devil's advocate, just curious. Because I was very impressed with UCLA. My friend was actually at the game. And he texted me before the game, it's going to be a blowout before halftime. And I said, probably. And when halftime hit, I was like, it was a blowout, but it wasn't the blowout we all thought it was going to be.
Right.
So that was crazy. But yeah, I had to ask, does it matter that, you've talked about Penn State being a fraud? I've sat up here and said they're going to win the championship. I still.
No.
And I don't know.
No.
Wouldn't it be the most Penn State thing to lose to UCLA and then somehow go and beat Ohio State, though? Just saying. Wouldn't it be the most James Franklin thing ever?
Matt's trying to take off all the Ohio State fans again this week.
Please. I don't care about the Ohio State fans. I don't care. I don't care about them. I really don't. Because they're going to, again, I'm sticking with it. They're going to lose to Penn State, but that's for a couple of years. That's a couple weeks from now here. But Bill, is there any concern about that? Or do you really generally think it doesn't really matter and he deserves to just kind of take over at UCLA?
I think yes, Penn State is a fraud, but also we can't diminish what he did. I mean, this team was 0-4, dead in the water, like dead on a. There were Division II teams that showed more fight than UCLA did going into that game, and he had them prepared and playing well. I mean, they were up 27-7 at halftime. Like he had every answer to the question to the quiz that James Franklin tried to put out there. And when you do that and you have those guys playing hard for you like that, that's something you just can't teach. And I think is it probably a year or two too early for him? Absolutely. But listen, if you're wanting to compete with the other teams in the Big Ten, let alone USC right across the way, you got to get risky with it. And I think that's a risky move that could pay off.
Yeah, no, I don't hate it. I don't hate that at all. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with UCLA. But I'm starting to agree with you a little bit. I've learned to just kind of listen to Bill at this point. Everyone, if you haven't, just follow him, follow us. Make sure to like and subscribe this video while we're talking about following. Like and subscribe our videos. Like and subscribe to TWSN channel. Go to the TWSN website. We're putting out content every single day. This show comes out every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Pacific time. I got it right finally. I finally got it right. Shout out my West Coast guys. But Josh, anything you want to talk about from last week?
Well, first off, I do want to say, Matt, congrats not like losing it completely, because you warned me when we went off air last week, if Penn State were to lose, you were going to lose your mind. So very, very calm as Bill brought it up on the first segment. But I have to talk about that team right here, right?
Yeah.
How about them Bearcats? You want to talk about a team that looks physical, that will smack you in the mouth? Salisbury is making a few of those passes that Bill questioned earlier in the year when me and him talked about him. But he made a clutch one when UC needed it most, and they let Iowa State back in the game, 82 yards downfield, touchdown to seal the game. This Bearcat team is scary. Now, they haven't hit the hard part of their schedule yet. They haven't. They got 2 winnable games, UCF at home, and then they go to Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State could be a little bit of a trap game. But after that is when they get into the thick of things. They do get Baylor, but it is at home. I know they go to TCU to end the year, and there's 2 games in the middle. I want to say it's like BYU at home and then at Utah in some kind of order of that situation. But they don't play Tech. Bill, you got to admit, that's big. That's very huge. Big if you can avoid Tech right now.
And I just want to point out one thing. Do you think that Cincy can win the Big 12?
Win the Big 12? No, they're not there yet.
So we're not going to have Liam shave his head on our show.
Oh, if they win, though, I will personally make sure Liam's on the show shaving his head.
For anyone who doesn't know, last week, our guy Liam commented that if Cincinnati makes the Big 12, or makes the 12 championship game?
No, he said they got to win it. He said
they have to win it. Okay, if they win the Big 12, he will come on the show and just shave his head. And we're going to hold him to this. So go Bearcats.
But I will say this. When it comes to the Big 12, anytime you talk Big 12 football, that one team that always comes out of nowhere is the physical team. The more physical team, because it is a finesse league. It is changing a little bit because Arizona State's more physical. Utah obviously was the only physical dogs in the yard for a little bit of the time. Texas Tech's a little bit in between, I would argue. Their defense is pretty darn physical. Offense depends on the game. But UC, man, Tyree Walker, I believe it is, ran through that poor safety for Iowa State. Is it technically offensive targeting? You could debate yes. According to the rules, Bill, according to the rules, he lowered his head.
Rules, yes. Watching, no.
But watching. But not only did he do it once, he did it to the poor guy twice. There's just something about this UC team that is clicking, and I owe Scott Satterfield an apology. He was the number 1 Big 12 coach on my list on the hot seat. He's not on the hot seat anymore. We brought up before we went on the show, I said he could be a good sleeper candidate for the North Carolina job if it came open. Virginia Tech's not a bad idea either. If they got to go the cheaper route, it still knows that kind of area of recruiting. All I know is there's something in the water right now in Cincinnati, and the fans are buying into.
You want to talk about something in the water? This is going towards my team that I was thoroughly impressed with last week. That's Virginia. Coming off of the win against Florida State, I thought, okay, they're going to go into Louisville. They're going to lose. Fraud city over here. They got lucky at home, double overtime, Friday night game, beating Florida State, right? They exposed Louisville, especially in that second half. Now, don't get me wrong. Chris Bell, dude is a monster. But Louisville stopped going to him in the second half. It was weird. It was like he was feasting first half, just feasting, and then shut down. And Virginia's offense didn't play that great of a game, but their defense was flying to the ball. They were just knocking the ball out. They were doing everything. I don't know if you guys saw one of the interceptions that Miller Moss threw. I don't know what he was doing. He was like falling to the ground and was basically on the ground, but then somehow threw the ball and it got picked off. I don't know what he was doing. And I was up here talking about the redemption story for Miller Moss the last few weeks, and then that happens. But can Virginia make some noise? What do you guys think? Or are you not buying what they're selling so far?
I mean, the schedule says yes.
Yeah, I agree. The schedule.
Yes. They don't got Georgia Tech and they don't got Miami.
Yep. The only game.
Got past Louisville.
Yeah, the only game that could be a trip up for them is the trip to Berkeley against Cal, especially if JKS continues to light it up like he has been. But I think that's really the only game that you could see of major concern. My biggest concern with Virginia is the quarterback position that they have, and Chandler Morris is just up and down. There's games where he looks like a star, and then against Louisville, he just looked average, and that offense as a whole just looked average. 2.8 yards a carry is not going to get it done in ACC play. 4.8 yards an attempt is not going to get it done in ACC play. But the schedule absolutely says they could run the show. But that Cal game against JKS, where you're going to essentially be in a shootout with that true freshman, I don't know if they're going to get past it.
And you got to throw in the long trip travel across country and everything else. I would agree. That is the one game. And if I remember correctly, they're technically still undefeated in the ACC, which is going to be insane because that means 3 teams are going to be undefeated in the ACC, because the NC State game was one of those weird, hey, we're rivals, we still want to play each other, but the ACC didn't put us on our schedule. I knew it was going to get somebody in there. That's the game that it got everybody.
It's going to be interesting because I like the look of Virginia, but I agree their offense needs to be more consistent. That's my only concern with them, because that defense I was thoroughly impressed with their defense, especially coming off of the win, against Florida State. I think they can make some noise. They weren't, what was it? They went into last week, first time ranked in like 4 years or something like that. Mm-hmm. And to go on the road and win, that shows me a toughness in that locker room. And I was impressed. I think they are going to be a team that people have to respect throughout the rest of the year. But we're going to move on unless you guys have any other takeaways that you want to talk about real quick before we get into the couple of the other things we need to talk about here.
I can't think of anybody right now. I'm ready just to talk about some of these games after we get through our podium and bracket.
Yeah. All right.
Absolutely. I agree.
Let's move on then. We are going to go to a Heisman podium. As we've been doing here every single week for the last few weeks. Josh, if you want to discuss the Heisman podium.
Sure can. We have a new guy at the top. He was technically tied, but Ty Simpson is officially the Heisman leader in the TWSN experts poll, whatever you want to say. Dante Moore is second, and Justice Haynes is third. I've got questions for you guys, since obviously you guys also help vote. So first, Matt, how close are you to adding a QB number 3 instead of Justice Haynes?
I thought about it, but for the sake of the ranking for right now, I think I wanted to go non-3 quarterbacks because what Haynes is doing is just insane. Like, he is the Michigan offense at this point. I mean, you know that team very well. It's every week the dude is just like busting out runs and just carrying that team on his back right now. And, we've seen non-quarterbacks win this award in recent years. And if he keeps this up and Michigan runs the table, maybe he could do it. Because quarterbacks are so finicky sometimes. I mean, running backs are too, but quarterbacks, if they have one bad game, it kind of taints their entire, resume. But if a running back has a bad game on the ground, but is good through the air, he could still or vice versa. You could still make the case. So it's going to be interesting, especially with players like Dante Moore and Fernando Mendoza and all those players. They could easily eat themselves basically throughout the rest of the year. So it's going to be really interesting kind of to see what happens.
And then Bill, you are the Mendoza truther. You are the
Yes.
believer in Mendoza since the beginning of the year, even before preseason. You said the dude could win the Big Ten with him at quarterback. What exactly why do you have him over Moore right now?
So for me, the big thing with Fernando Mendoza is I've seen it. Mendoza, the way he dissected that Illinois team, in the fact that he literally, from the word go, from the first gun, he had every answer to every question that Illinois asked. And yes, Dante Moore had a very impressive game against Penn State, but there were some flaws in his play against Penn State. You watched where he got pressured, his clock got sped up a little bit. Some of the passes, especially the shorter stuff, went a little awry. I said it earlier on X, and you can follow me over on X at Spark Scouting as I led up to the show. The winner of this weekend's Oregon-Indiana game, that team's quarterback is winning the Heisman. The Heisman is on the line in this weekend's game. Whoever has the win and has the better performance, they're walking out with the Heisman. I think it's a 2-horse race between Moore and Mendoza. As much as I love Ty Simpson, and he's had some really great performances, and I love Ty Simpson as a quarterback and as an NFL draft prospect, I just keep thinking back to that first week against Florida State and how the voters are going to look at that. And even though Florida State's much improved, you can't get away from a game where you go 23 of 43 for 250 yards against a higher level of competition like that, as well as against Vanderbilt. Looked great, but also it's Vanderbilt. Mendoza and Moore have done it. Their big game performances are better than Ty Simpson's big game performance. Because which one would you consider his big game performance? Georgia looked a little exposed in the first half. Vanderbilt didn't really come on until probably the end of the first quarter. Louisiana Monroe.
Okay, I have a question then, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say this weekend, both Mendoza and Moore throw for 300. Well, let's say 250, because 300 can be difficult in college sometimes. 250 yards, 3 touchdowns. Neither one of them throws a pick. And some team wins on a field goal, right? Yeah. They both basically play the same exact game. Both have around the same amount of yards on the ground, everything. Who is your leader at that point? Is it still Mendoza, or is it Moore because he did beat a Penn State? Granted, we all know Penn State might be frauds, but that's not the point.
Yeah. If all stats are equally considered and it's only a field goal victory like you talked about, it would be Mendoza. And it's just because I put much more weight, and like you said, I called Penn State a fraud, and I stand by Penn State was a fraud, and Clemson's a fraud, and we've got a fraud watch today on today's show when we get to the pick'em, so I'm going to be keeping up for that. But Mendoza, what he did against Illinois, because everybody said Illinois was going to go into Bloomington. They were going to show Bloomington that they were a fraud, that this was no different than last season's team that struggled. And then what does Mendoza do? I don't know, just runs up the board for 40-plus points and absolutely waxes that Illinois defense. Yes, they were down some key players in the back end of the defense, including Xavier Scott. So you can't immediately dismiss that fact. But you also have to sit here and say what he did as a quarterback is exactly what you want a Heisman candidate to do. You go in, you play the best team out there in front of you, and you play them at a top tier level. That's what the Heisman Award should be, the best player in college football. Does it happen to be a quarterback this year? I think so. You look at my podium voting, it's 3 straight quarterbacks. As much as I love Justice Haynes, it's going to be a quarterback because of the quarterback play we've seen so far this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be an interesting finish for the season because they're, in my opinion, they're all pretty close. You can make the case for almost any of them. And luckily we get to see a few of them go up against each other, and that's going to be fun. But let's move on to the playoff, because I know, Bill, you like to gloat that you were right about some of the, well, not right, because it hasn't happened yet. So I'm not gonna give you full credit. You get half credit.
Yeah, I'll take
we got our bracket, our TWSN bracket here. Ohio State remains at first. Anything stick out to you here that you noticed, Josh?
For me, I really just want that Alabama-Texas Tech matchup. I don't know how you guys feel about that. And then I also want Indiana-Tennessee if that were to happen. First one to 60 wins that one. There ain't no defense in that. I don't hate the matchups. Still plenty of time. I was one of the rare people who were almost halfway, so I went a little bit oddball, and I went out and I said, if you're undefeated right now, you are going to be in my top 12. There is 11 Power 5 teams currently undefeated, so I just ranked them 1 through 11. Obviously, you guys didn't see it that way. A lot of the SEC love was there, and boy, was it there, because that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 SEC teams, which I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Bill predicted also. So
it just means more.
It does. And I will say this, of our bracket, the game that I'm most looking forward to, if it does happen, is Ole Miss Memphis, because I feel like that game's going to go one of two ways. Either A, Ole Miss is going to come out and just shred Memphis 8 ways from Sunday, and everyone's going to talk about Lane Kiffin being one of the best coaches in college football. Or B, and this is what I'm leaning towards, Memphis upsets Ole Miss, and everyone talks about Lane Kiffin should be out of Oxford.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Because last week I said Ole Miss is a fraud. And this was coming off of them beating my LSU Tigers too. But Ole Miss, let's also not forget, both of these teams have played Arkansas this year, right? And granted, they both beat Arkansas. And I know Arkansas is not the measuring stick that I want to be using fully. But Ole Miss had some trouble with Arkansas at home. And then they obviously won. Memphis is better than people think. Josh and I have talked about this. They are better than people think, and I agree with you. I think they might be able to upset Ole Miss because I'm not buying what Ole Miss is selling right now.
They also have to get there, though. This AAC schedule is absolutely
Ole Miss has to get there too.
Brutal. You're right. Ole Miss still has to get there, but this AAC schedule for Memphis is pretty tough because they play basically everyone except for North Texas of the undefeated ACC, which brings me to a question. I want to just get ahead of time before we get into this week's game. Didn't make the pick 6, but I told Bill, take a look at it. Let me know his thoughts. Number 24 USF is traveling to North Texas. North Texas was the only other team in the AAC to get a vote for TWSN. So quickly, Bill, North Texas, USF, where's your lean?
I'm leaning North Texas. And the reason for that is you're looking at a team that is top 10 in the nation in scoring offense at almost 45 points a game. You're looking at a team that is tied for number 1 in the turnover margin at +8. But this is what concerns me the most about North Texas. They are 108th in the nation in third down conversion, allowing almost 44% of the time third down conversions. That has to change immediately because you cannot go into a college football playoff against an Ole Miss team or a Georgia team or an Oklahoma team giving up third down conversions almost 44% of the time because you will get railroaded right back out of the playoff.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's honestly as simple as that. And once again, Bill knows ball. I mean,
I was going to say, I dug a little bit. I leaned USF just because North Texas hasn't played anybody yet. This is obviously their toughest contest. Getting it at home is a nice advantage, but I just think Byron Brown is a lot like he is special. That kid is absolutely special. And North Texas is starting a redshirt walk-on freshman.
Yes.
That's a lot to ask for a big game like this.
yeah.
Just gut feel.
Agreed. But I will say this, if this is the game you're going to do it against USF, they rank 103rd in the nation in passing defense. This is the game. If you're going to do it against anybody, this is the game you're going to do it.
This, I think, I just want to preface for our viewers. This is my favorite part of having Bill on the show. Is it's not just me telling Josh why he's wrong. It's Bill telling Josh why he's wrong.
At least
too.
Bill has stats to back his up, and he doesn't.
I've been trying to emulate some stats here the last few weeks because Bill showed me the way. So I don't want to hear that from you here, okay, Mr. Bloomington is bland and all the not bland, yeah, bland, right?
Yeah.
Or was that
He said? I
No,
think he
Robinson
said
is
something.
playing.
Lawyer Robinson was bland. Bloomington wasn't intimidating.
Nobody's afraid of
Yeah.
playing football in IU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
get to the game.
anyways,
Right.
it's going to be a fun finish, but we need to get into these games because we have some big games to talk about here. Speaking of the SEC, I'm going to keep the SEC love going here, guys. Alabama taking on Missouri. Missouri, they've been kind of impressive. I'm not going to lie. They've been pretty impressive. This is the test for them. And if they beat Alabama, this establishes them as a title contender, at least in my opinion. My worry is that they rely too heavily on the run, and Alabama is clicking right now. So, Bill, you're our guest. Where are you going with this game first?
I'm going with Bama, and I said it earlier in the episode. Mizzou is on fraud alert. Strength of schedule, 108th in the nation. Tied for 99th in the nation in sacks allowed. 68th in the FBS in turnovers. Guess where Alabama ranks in that turnover margin?
Much higher.
Tied for second. Missouri turns the ball over. They haven't played anybody. They allow sacks. What are the three biggest drive killers? Turnovers, sacks, and not being prepared for upper level of competition. I still think it's going to be close because Missouri has one of the top offenses in the SEC at 547 yards per game and second in the SEC in scoring at 45 points per game. I think it's going to be close, but I'm going Bama by 4 here because Mizzou is on fraud watch for me.
I think Bama wins as well. As much as I would love for Missouri to keep going, I think it's time for them to lose. And I think Alabama's clicking. They're going to win. Josh, are we going 3 for 3 with the Crimson Tide, or are you picking the Tigers?
No, we're going to start with a sweep here, and I'm going to also take Alabama.
Boring.
As much as this story has been great for Mizzou, if Mizzou were to win, please check on your Penn State friends because the Bo Perbola conversation over Drew Aller is going to send them into a frenzy. Legit, check on every Penn State fan you know. Ahmad Hardy will insert instantly into the Heisman candidacy. He is currently 7th in the college football and carries, 1st in yards, 3rd in yards per carry of anyone over 75 carries per this season, and he is 2nd in touchdowns. Very, 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 very good player out of UL Monroe. I want to say he is only a sophomore, so going to be there for a little bit longer. Person to keep an eye on, though, for Missouri also is Brett Norfleet, the tight end. Big red zone target, 6'6", 263 tight end. Caught 4 touchdowns this year, 2 of them in the red zone. So Bo likes going to him there. And on the defensive side, Damon Wilson and Zion Young transferred from Georgia and Michigan State. So they got some players on the outside. Lead the SEC in pressures. However, as Bill mentioned, this is versus Central Arkansas, Kansas, Louisiana, South Carolina, and UMass. It's one of these, Missouri, you got to prove it. You know what I mean? Like, you have to prove it. You got to knock the boogeyman out. Like, that's what you've got to do. You've got to go and beat Bama. You got home field advantage. It's probably going to be the loudest Missouri's ever had their football stadium. And how they managed 6 home games to start the year is unbelievable. 6 straight.
I mean, that's going to end up hurting them at the end, though. They're not going to be able to sustain this once they have to go on the road, probably.
And that's also a fair fleet. So I'm going to side with Alabama. Ty Simpson continues to be my leading candidate for the Heisman after another very good performance at Missouri.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that this is a test for Missouri. Same thing I said last week about Vandy. If they could beat Alabama, they would establish themselves. Missouri's been looking for relevancy in the SEC for a long time. And this is the game. You're at home. You're in front of your fans. The fans want to storm the field, so give it to them. Like, if you can't win this, you're not going to ever probably do it. So I really don't know what to tell them. But we're going to move on to everyone's favorite team, especially Josh, who we know is the biggest Buckeye fan. We got Ohio State taking on Illinois. This game must be really tough for you, Josh, because you're such a Buckeye person, and then you love Illinois too. So, like, where are you going with this? Because are you going with your heart, or are you going with your head here? Which one? What are you doing here?
So, just some players to know outside the obvious ones. I'm just going to throw these guys out of here. Ohio State running back room: Bo Jackson, James Peebles, C.J. Donaldson. Donaldson hasn't exactly been what they hoped when they got him from West Virginia. However, Bo Jackson has lived up to all the hype as the freshman, has come on very strong, 30 carries over the last 2 games. People has 10, Donaldson has 12. Brandon Inniss has yet to have a game for Ohio State despite being team captain. They've been relying more on the tight end rather than the slot wide receiver. It's very scary to think about because how good they have looked so far on offense. They haven't even used the team captain, guy who has got the respect from the locker room, and everybody was talking about having a breakout year. Haven't got him involved yet. And Caden McDonald, absolutely wrecker in the middle. But then we go to the Illini. It's the obvious ones. It's going to be Luke Altmaier. Luke Altmaier has to do it. He is one of 3 quarterbacks right now in college football not to throw an interception and throw over 1,000 yards. North Texas quarterback is also one of them, by the way. He has, however, been sacked 19 times, 7 of them versus Indiana. Not as good as the defense of Ohio State. Hank Beatty, stud, probably the all-purpose guy right now, and maybe all college football, definitely the Big Ten, has thrown a touchdown, rushed a touchdown, caught touchdowns, returned a punt for a touchdown. But he's just not that crazy athlete. You know what I mean? He's a football player. He's not the athlete going against these guys who are on Ohio State are crazy in the secondary when it comes to NFL talent and athletes. And then Valentine and Fegan, same guys I talk about every week when we talk Illinois. If Illinois is going to win, they got to run the rock. I'm taking the Illini. Liam, go ahead and let me hear it. Call me a hater. This Illinois team came back for this game. This is why they have 17 players of the 22 starters from last year coming back to win this game. This isn't on the road, which Bill has mentioned before. On the road, Altmaier, this is at home. He's played his best football at home. It's an orange out. It's going to be the craziest, loudest environment Illinois has ever had. And if you remember, Ron Zook and the Illini have done this before. I'm taking Brett Bielema. I'm taking the 25-year-old quarterback in Luke Altmaier. And I see them getting it done in a close one. And the difference will be this. David Olano has made 6 of 6 field goals from 40+. Ohio State's kicker has only made 5 field goals all year. Ohio State will miss a field goal to lose the game. Storm Illini, baby.
So I will be very glad to gain a game on you in our pick'em with this because I'm sorry. Ohio State is far too good to lose to Illinois. If they're going to lose, they're going to lose to a Michigan, just pure rivalry or something like that, or an Oregon or something of that nature. Illinois they have been so bad with the offensive line. We talked about this the last time that they played, and you sat up here and still said they were going to win, and look what happened. That was against Indiana. I'm not saying Ohio State's going to beat them by like 50.
This is their Super Bowl, though. This is their game. This is what they.
But that doesn't always mean that the team's going to win.
All they got to do is find a way. Anything happens on Saturdays. Anything
can happen on Saturdays, but Illinois is 113th in passing yards allowed. 113th. How's that for stats, Josh? 113th. 113th.
You get that from Bill? Did he just send it over to you?
They are 121st in defensive success rate against the pass. That is horrible for a top team. Horrible. And they are going against arguably the best offense passing wise in the entire country. I don't care if they're in home. I don't care if they're in Illinois. I don't care about any of that. Ohio State is going to win this game. And I'm going to gladly take a win over you because you should have had, we'll talk about this in a minute. I should have had an extra one last week, but that's besides the point. Bill, over to you.
Listen, as much as I would love to sit here and say I'd love to see the upset of Ohio State, it's Illinois doesn't have a chance. It's Ohio State. You're talking 126th in the nation in sacks allowed, in 19 sacks for Illinois, against Ohio State, who is tied for 22nd in sacks. Illinois, dead last in the Big Ten in passing defense, 113th in the nation, just like Josh alluded to. Ohio State, this is the big one, in defensive third down conversions, so third downs converted against them. They've only allowed that 20% of the time. Illinois, 85th on offense, converting almost 39% of the time. And Josh, to allude to your point about running the rock, I completely agree. The problem with that is Illinois ranks 100th in rushing offense. Ohio State is top 20 in rushing defense. I just don't see a way that this Illinois team is currently constructed except for one. And I say this, I have Ohio State by 10, but Illinois ranks in the top 5 in turnover margin. If they can force turnovers, this game will be close. But if they can't do that, it's Ohio State all the way to the bank.
And all they need is to be close. I'm telling you, that's all I need.
No, you
Give me the
are.
Illini.
No, I'm like I said, Bill and I both, but especially me, I will gladly take that win because I'm slowly catching up to you. It's just it's a grind. It's a grind this year. So Ohio State's going to win the game. Buckeye fans can like me for a few weeks, and then they're not going to like me in a couple weeks. But we're going to talk about this game because we have Pittsburgh, who doesn't exist to me any longer, taking on Florida State. And I want to bring this up because, Josh, you switched your pick last week at the last second with Florida State in Miami because I should have had an extra win on you because you were dead set on picking the Seminoles. You said they were going to beat Miami. I said, you're crazy. And you said, okay, I'm going to switch.
Boy, was I. I'm so glad I'm glad. That's why I let you go first and you talked me out of it. So
I got to start letting you make your picks first because clearly I'm talking you into this. But Josh, I'm going to go to you first. Even though you don't deserve to have a say in this game or anything because of last week's debacle, like just you can't do it, Josh. But who are you going? Are you going with Florida State? Or are you taking the team that should not be named at this point?
I'm gonna make this one very quick and easily. I'm gonna take the one not starting the true freshman quarterback in Florida State. So yes, I am taking Florida State to win this one. Last week, Pittsburgh made the change to Mason Hineshaw. Had a good game.
Look good.
Don't get me wrong. Looked very good. Playing at home or playing at Boston College is not playing at Florida State. The Doak is going to be loud. They know they need to win out. Like their only hope now is to win out and somehow end up back in the ACC championship game. Which, sadly enough, I don't think there's a chance. I don't think the 2-loss teams getting in the playoffs this year. I think once you have 2 losses, you're done. So State's hope, and that would give me maybe Pittsburgh a shot, maybe because Florida State, how do they bounce back after another heartbreak? But nah, I see Florida State winning and winning big.
This feels like a game. I'm taking Florida State. Just want to preface that. But this feels like a game that Florida State could overlook the Panthers, and I don't know why. It's one of those, like you talk about the gut feelings. I don't know why. No, they just lost. They're coming off a loss, 2 straight losses. But it just feels that way. And the Panthers do have a very good run defense. Like they rank 6th nationally in rushing success rate. They are very good against the run. That is the only way I think that the Panthers can even make this close. Otherwise, I think it's going to be a 2-touchdown game for Florida State. But Bill, are you going with Florida State or are you taking the Panthers?
I'm going Florida State as well, but this is the true definition of a trap game. When you look at trap games, you look at games where either the team just had a very emotional win, a very emotional loss, or they're looking ahead to a very emotional opponent. Florida State fits that very emotional loss category. But the problem is I can't take Pitt in any form or fashion because 122nd in the nation in time of possession, 89th in the nation in sacks allowed, 115th in the FBS in red zone defense. If you get into the red zone against Pitt, you score 94% of the time. You can't compete against any team with those numbers, let alone a Florida State in their house. There's just no way. I've got Florida State by 10. I think this is going to be a wash by halftime.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they're going to bounce back. The fans are going to be happy again for at least a week. And
if they lose, Mike Norville better pack up his boxes because he's fired.
I think the
Alabama
Alabama
doesn't
win
favor.
gets him one
You
more
lose
year.
this game, Alabama goes away. That
Nah,
you lose
you cannot forget the high of
0-3.
beating Alabama.
0-3 in the ACC, man.
I don't think they beat Alabama. That's all he can literally go to the higher and be like, I beat Alabama. I am doing something right. So
0-3.
and they didn't just beat Alabama. They obliterated Alabama. So
0-3.
we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be something to watch for sure.
I don't think they fire Norvell, but I will tell you, I think if someone comes calling and shows some interest, it's not the immediate I'm going to hang up the phone anymore. It's tell me more.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I don't think he gets fired just yet, but it's going to be interesting. Florida State was on the come up and they've sank a little bit. So we're going to see if they can get back to treading water or whatnot. We're going to move on. We got 3 more games, 2 of which are our big games. But this one here is pretty intriguing. We got Arizona State taking on Utah. And the last time we talked Utah, Josh and I picked Utah. And then they decided to not even show up in their own game against Texas Tech. And Bill, you can take a victory lap at that. But the Sun Devils have been playing very well. I've been impressed. We talked about them last week, Josh. They've been impressing both of us. I'm going to send this over to Josh first because I don't want to give my pick because I don't want him switching things. Josh, where are you going with this game?
So you got 2 very, very fun coaches, Kenny Dillingham and Whittingham. You got Devin Dampier versus Sam Levet. Both games next week. No look-ahead spots for both teams. Utah's got BYU in the Holy War. ASU's got Texas Tech at home. That's big for ASU. Just throwing that out there. The difference for me, and it's the same that happened with Texas Tech, and I'm going to fall in the trap again. Utah's home record under Whittingham. They were 34-3 before last year. 2024, I'm putting an asterisk. I'm throwing it out. When you're playing your 4-string quarterback, you're going to lose some games you're not supposed to. It happens. I just feel the home field advantage on a 10 o'clock primetime Saturday night football game in Utah will make the difference between the 3-man offense of Arizona State and that Utah defense that loves playing physical, and Arizona State's not going to be able to out-physical them. It's just not possible. You are not going to smack Utah in the mouth one way or another unless somehow you're Will Hammond coming off the bench, and last time I checked, Sam Levitt's not Will Hammond. So,
no, he's not. But Bill, are you going with him? Or are you going to tell him why he's wrong like you did a couple weeks ago?
I'm going Utah here. And the big reason that I'm going
really
Utah.
Pulling for you, Bill. Sorry, continue.
I know. Here's the biggest reason that I'm going with Utah is Arizona State on 3rd down. 128th in the FBS at a 30.8% conversion percentage on 3rd down. Utah is the type of team, if you cannot sustain drives against them, if you're quickly 3 and out, and you allow Devin Dampier and Caleb Lomu and Spencer Fano to continue to build momentum against your defensive line, it's going to get ugly quickly. That's why Texas Tech picked up the win over Utah, because Utah never got a chance to sustain that momentum. Against Arizona State, they're going to be 3 and out all afternoon. They're going to sustain that momentum and create long 10, 11, 12 play drives. I think it's going to be close. I think we're talking about Utah by 4 here, but I can't get behind the Sun Devils with that 3rd down percentage.
Now, the question is, do I do what Josh did last week? Because all week I was thinking Arizona State. But to save myself a loss, do I do that? Or do I take the risk? Bill, I'm going to let you make the call. Because I think this game can go either way. Both teams have good offense. The defense is whatever to me. Arizona State might be a little too reliant on the pass, in my opinion. But, Bill, do I take Arizona State and stick with my gut, or do I save myself a potential loss? We're a show here that lets the audience and even our members choose. So, Bill, where are you going with my pick? Bill, are you taking Arizona State or Utah?
I say take Utah. And the reason I say to take Utah is because if this is a close game, Arizona State's field goal percentage this season, 78.6. You cannot put the hands in the game in the hands of Arizona State's kicker right now. It's too inconsistent. If they were playing any other team where they had a chance to build and sustain drives or get in a shootout like a Baylor squad, Yes, absolutely. But you can't do that against Utah, and it's not going to be close to where you want to put that kicker out there like that.
I'm sorry, Bill. I'm sorry. I'm going with their ASU. I'm doing it.
That's fair.
I have to say, so mini story, because I know we still got 2 games. Last week, the Saints Giants game. All week in my pick'em with a bunch of my buddies, I was like, Saints are gonna win. Saints are gonna win. Saints are gonna win. With 1 minute left to go, I switched to the Giants. Yeah, we all know what happened. ASU all the way. Let's go. Sun Devils are back. That Mississippi State loss, we don't care about that anymore. That actually looks like a good loss now. So it's fine. ASU, Liam, I'm with you. ASU all the way. They're going to upset Utah. I'm going to gain a second game on Josh here. And even if I lose, at least we break even because he's going to lose the Ohio State game. So it doesn't matter. So it's a win-win for me at this point. I want to go to this game because this game is the game that I know you two have been dying to talk about. Bill, I'm going to head to Josh first because I want Josh to go. Josh, are you going with Indiana or are you taking the Ducks?
So you think I'd learn my lesson, right?
You never learned your lesson.
I have Hoosier fans in my DMs. I have them finding me on Facebook. I mean, they did what you asked, Matt. They literally came out and they found me.
Please do not harm Josh.
I wouldn't dare disrespect the Hoosiers, would I? You're a basketball school. You're playing a football team at Oregon. You ain't winning. Pack your bags. You're getting blown out by at least 3 scores. I'm doubling down. Wow. I'm doing it again. Dante Moore has himself a game.
3 scores.
De'Ara Hill Jr. De'Ara Hill Jr. Is that how you pronounce his first name, Bill? You know?
De'Ara.
Yeah. Freshman running back has been a sensation. Absolutely. 10 yards per carry. Every time he touches it, it's guaranteed first down or he's going to score. He will make the difference in this game. And the more-to-more connection, at least 2 scores on this zone defense that Indiana loves to do. That last time I checked, what's that? Dante Moore has completed 80% of his passes versus zone defense. 8-time big throws. All I'm saying, 21 might have been a little bit high. I'm gonna back that up a little.
No,
bit.
you don't get to back it up. You said 3.
You said Oregon is absolutely
on business, Josh.
Oregon is absolutely going to smack Indiana in the mouth and remind them that they are the 3rd best team in the Big Ten, which is not bad.
Okay,
but they're just not Oregon and they're just not Ohio State. Okay. Kind of like Ohio State did to them last year.
Bill,
that's what I see happening again.
Bill, are you going with the Ducks with Josh, or are you going to go against Josh here?
I'm going against Josh here. I'm going IU, and I'm going IU. I'm going IU by 3, and here is why. Oregon is 41-1 in their last 42 home games. That last win in 2022 was former IU quarterback Michael Penix taking the Washington Huskies into Autzen to pull out the win 37-34. The last time the Hoosiers played the Ducks, 2004, IU won 30-24. Ducks had 7 turnovers in that game. This is a demon that the Ducks have not exercised yet. And here's the big thing. This is the big thing. Everybody talks about getting after the quarterback, right? That's how you affect the offense, is to get after the quarterback. Oregon ranks 92nd in the nation in sacks. IU in sacks allowed, 16th. Protect Mendoza. Shorten the game. Keep them out of the red zone because Oregon has the number 1 red zone offense in the entire nation. IU's red zone defense is 129th. If they get into the red zone and get into a red zone match, this game is over. You keep them out of the red zone. You keep Mendoza upright. You force some turnovers. I'm taking Hoosiers by 3.
You know, normally I'd go with Bill because Bill tends to bring his stuff, and Indiana's only turned the ball over 2 times the entire year. That's impressive. But this game's in Autzen. I'm sorry. I've been to Oregon multiple times. I've never gone to a game there, but that city is just insane for the Ducks. They bring the noise, they bring the fire, they travel well. So it's like you've seen Duck fans go everywhere. And, you know, in their home building, in a game like this, they're not going to lose. They're not losing this game. This is the one time and one time only I will ever agree with Josh. I'm going with the Ducks. Oregon's going to win, and I'm going to have to sit up here and apologize to Dante Moore again because I did not believe in him at the beginning of the year. He's impressed me. He's going to impress me again this weekend, I feel like.
Liam says Ducks now by 30.
Ducks by 30.
I'm not going to say Ducks. I'm not going to do three scores.
That home field advantage.
Yeah, I mean,
cannot understate like how much that makes a difference. But I will say I'm interested to see how IU's secondary does do versus Oregon's offense because their strong safety Lewis Moore leads the team in tackles, and Amari Farrell 6 interceptions combined. The guys find ways to get to the ball. If they can pick Dante Moore off, they've got a shot.
Yeah, they do. And it's going to be a fun game because this is going to establish the Big Ten a little bit. And in the Heisman races we talked about earlier. But we have one more game that we want to talk about here. And we all know it's a big one. Every year, the Red River rivalry. Now, John Mateer, we don't know if he's going to play. He's pushing to play. I don't.
It's Chipotle Gate. That's what's happening.
Is he playing? Because, I mean, here's the thing. Even if he plays, how effective is he going to be? Because he's rushing this to come back. I get it. When you go to Oklahoma, Baker Mayfield said it years ago. You go to Oklahoma to beat Texas. You go to Texas to beat Oklahoma, right? So I understand. I completely get it. But don't rush back because this Oklahoma team could do something special if he is healthy. I'm going to give it to Bill first. Where are you going?
Yep. So I'm going Texas. And that's partially, and that's both ways. If Mateer plays and Mateer doesn't play, the big reason Oklahoma's tied for 113th in the nation in a -4 turnover differential, as well as these two defenses are, in terms of points allowed, 2 of the top 5 defenses in the nation in points allowed. These two defenses do not allow folks to score. The big question mark that I will have, can Oklahoma get the run game going? And they have to, because they're sitting at 97th in the nation and 137 yards per game. Texas's defense is top 11 at 79 yards per game allowed. The one saving grace that will help Oklahoma if Mateer doesn't play is this Texas team, and I say this, and this is the reason that they will miss the CFP, is an undisciplined mess. They are 128th. Let me run that back. 128th in the FBS in penalty yards per game. You cannot beat anyone when you beat yourself. But no Mateer, no run game, no turnovers. I'm going Longhorns by 4.
I think I'm going to go with the Longhorns too. But for all the reasons you say, because I can't back that up. I'm sorry, Bill. You always bring this. You always bring it, and it's great. I just think Texas got embarrassed last week. I mean, they made Florida look incredible. Let's be real. Let's say how it is. Florida looked good last week. Redemption game at home. Well, not home, but rivalry game. Mateer may not play, but if he does play, how effective? I think Texas finally puts it together. Looks like the team everyone thought they were going to be. Josh, are you going with, because Oklahoma's been your team. They've been your guys all year. Are you abandoning them right now? Are you sticking with Texas? Are you going with Texas?
So before Bill said Texas was going to miss the playoffs, do you remember the look on your face when I told you Texas was going to miss the playoffs? Preseason, I said this team wasn't good enough. There was too much pressure on Arch. There really was. And he looked better last week. Still had his 2 interceptions. We can have that discussion. I sometimes feel like he's in his 3rd year, but it's still only his 9th start. The playmakers aren't as good as what they thought they were. The running backs haven't been healthy. So I wanted to go back. I'll admit I didn't get to watch the Texas game last week because I was at the UC game. So I wanted to go back and I wanted to look and see, the score, what happened. He threw his 2 interceptions. His defense stood up. Got a punt afterwards and forced an interception on his own. Sark needs to help him. 44 of the 57 plays last week were Arch either dropping back to pass or running. That was their offense, just Arch. And I get it. Again, their running backs haven't been healthy. But still, you mentioned it. If I'm John Mateer, I'm not playing. Plain and simple, I will sum it up as this. If you were to lose this game without you on the field, and I get it, you want to run the table, you want to look the best, you want to get out there sooner. But if you lose this game without you on the field, there's going to be an asterisk in that room. Hey, you didn't have John Mateer. Yep. It could help you out. Just saying. Mm-hmm. It could help your team out. But this isn't the final call. Steve Sarkisian is 5-18 versus top 10 teams in his career, 2-8 at Texas, 3-5 since 2023. Top 25 teams, he's 21-34. He's the James Franklin of the South, boys. Why the heck does he get all this praise and he hasn't won a big game yet either?
It's the name.
It's the name.
Because
it's the name brand.
Head coach. So I am going to take OU in a close one. With Mateer, without Mateer, does not matter. Tate Sandell will kick the game-winning field goal. He is 4 of 5 plus 40 yards. Mason Shipley has only made or attempted one of those. He has attempted 5 kicks all year. Very similar to the Ohio State, Illinois thing, as I mentioned before. But Jaden Knott got some carries last week. Maybe he's out of the doghouse. That dude is a very, very, very good football player. And I think he has a breakout game versus Texas's defense. Give me the Sooners. Horns down.
I'm sensing a theme here because you're talking a lot about field goal kickers. So that's your theme of the week here, apparently.
I've looked in these close games. Special teams makes a difference.
Well, I'll gladly
last week Iowa State beats UC if they have field goal kickers. They had 3 chances to kick a field goal and they had to go for it 4 times in UC's side of the ball in field goal range. They had to go for it because they didn't have a field goal kicker.
Well, I'm not going to complain about you taking Oklahoma because this is the week where I closed the gap on the pick 'em a little bit. Just think, we've already established there's 3 wins right there for me, possibly. I'm 5-6 games behind you, so right there, I'm closing the gap, Josh. Thank you.
All I'm saying is I will never trust Steve Sarkisian. He is literally James Franklin of the South. I couldn't believe that stat when I saw it, but I'm like, why does he not get the same crap James has gotten?
I mean, it's a fair question.
He's done it with a better job. You have better facilities, better NIL money, everything at Texas, and you're not getting it done. And now, mind you, they were a red zone play away from a college football playoff, going to the college football playoff championship back-to-back years. Between the strip fumble last year by the name that I will not mention, and then the goal line stand in the corner, Muhammad knocking the ball away versus Washington. But that Washington game shouldn't have been that close. They should have smacked Washington.
Yeah. I mean, look, anytime these teams take the field, it doesn't really matter who's out there. They could both be winless. One could be undefeated, one could be winless. It doesn't matter. I mean, this is a rivalry. Throw everything out the window with these rivalry games. So,
and this is a fun one. I know a lot of people, don't get me wrong, I love the campus games and everything else, but this is literally, I went to it, I want to say it's almost going on a decade ago now. When it's split half and half and one side's orange and one side's maroon, it is fun. It is a fun thing.
No, it is. And it's going to be a fun weekend of college football. But before we get out of here, guys, any last things you want to say? Any hot takes? Any guarantees? I've been thinking about that. Any guarantees you want to make for the week? You don't have to have them. Just curious.
I got one hot take.
What is it?
Auburn is beating Georgia. And they're saving Hugh Freeze's job. Weird things happen in Auburn at night. Tell me they don't. Tell Alabama fans they don't.
That's a whole different story, though.
They had a week to prepare. Hugh Freeze knows he's coaching for his career at Auburn. Jackson Arnold is probably playing for his spot to ever be a Power 4 quarterback again, even though that's kind of weird nowadays. Auburn will beat Georgia this weekend.
I like it. Bill, you got anything? You don't feel pressure. Josh is always wrong, so you don't feel pressure here.
So 2 things. First one, I'm co-signing Josh's take of Auburn beating Georgia because I have Auburn winning by 3. But the second one, and this one is probably the more shocking one, LSU will be out of the college football playoff by the end of the weekend, Lenora Sellers goes into Baton Rouge and dominates, and not just wins, dominates.
I just watched the life sucked out of Matt.
No. What's actually kind of funny about that is I was literally I was hoping you wouldn't say LSU because I was about to say LSU. I have a weird feeling that South Carolina is going to win. I think South Carolina is pissed off about how they lost last year. You know, they started blowing them out in the first quarter, and then LSU storms back. Somehow, I don't know how, still to this day, I don't know how they won that game. But I think LSU is going to lose. I really do. And my hopes and dreams of a Tigers playoff might be dead.
Yep. And I'll throw one more in there. I wrote about it over at TWSN.net, and I'm still going to say it here until they prove me wrong. Notre Dame will not make the college football playoff. And in fact, they will get their third loss this weekend against NC State, led by CJ Bailey and Hollywood Smothers.
I like it. There's some hot takes going out here.
I don't like giving credit to Barstool too much, but they actually have a fact that the last four times that a Pope has passed away that same year, Notre Dame has finished 9-3.
I mean,
weird trend. I'm just saying.
It's only weird if it doesn't work, right? Remember those old commercials? It's only weird if it doesn't work. But anyways, thank you everyone for joining us this week. It was a fun show. We're looking forward to doing this every Thursday. Again, 6 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Pacific time. I got it right one more time, 2 times this time, Josh. So we didn't mess it up. Like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss us going live. We appreciate everyone in the comments section. We appreciate everyone taking the time to view this. Anyone who watches it when it's not live, thank you again. And we will see you next week for another edition of the TWSN Tailgate Show. Thank you.
This is TWSN. You ain't heard